Welcome back to the Spoonie and Caregiver Live podcast with me, Jordan Banderas. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of the podcast. And let's go ahead and get into today's episode, shall we? Now, on today's episode, I want to share the answer to this question that I have asked myself multiple times. And the question is, what if we have kids and my spouse is a spoonie? The reason why I want to share this because this is part of the life of a caregiver of a spoonie or a spoonie, and I know a few people that actually have gone through something similar or are going through something similar, and that's why I want to share this here. Now, just so everybody knows, I don't know if I have talked about this, but me and my wife can't have kids. So for us, either we will have to adopt a kid or a child, or foster a child, or steal a baby. Whatever's easier, because adopting is expensive. So either way, what will happen in those type of situations is that obviously my wife, she still will be a spoonie. Like probably her pain will never go away. Her some of her illnesses might never go away. So what happens in those type of situations, and this is based on my experience growing up, some of the experiences that I had with my mom, is that the child might feel neglected or might feel that because the parent is a spoonie and is facing all these health issues, they might not understand what's going on, so they might feel like it's them being bad or them being or doing something wrong. So what I would do in those type of situations with my child is that I will explain him or her that mom is actually ill, has an illness. I will try to explain the kid or the child in a way that they can understand how mom is trying to do the best that she can, but she's always tired or she's in pain, so she needs to rest. And one of the things that I would do, at least in my situation, is that I would take my child to therapy if I'm not able to explain it correctly. If I'm not able to explain it in a way where the child can understand, and I still see a problem the way that with the way that they're acting, or they feel neglected somehow, I will take them to therapy, because when the child feels neglected, they will feel almost like the way that I felt growing up. I felt neglected. I felt like I was a bad kid. I felt like I will never be able to do anything right for my parents, or in this case my mom, because she was divorced. So that's not what I want my kid to feel, especially when it's due to something out of their control. Like the child doesn't have any control over the parent being a spoonie or not, because I have seen so many cases. This happens, they put it on TikTok, Instagram, everywhere on social media, where the child asks the parent who is a spoonie to take them out to, let's say, a park, to, like, let's just say a skate park. They want to go skate. They're like 5, 6, 7 years old. They want to go skate. Well, the parent feels tired. They just took their meds. They want to rest, so they say, I can't. I'm tired, or I'm in pain. The child, unfortunately, is not going to be able to understand that. They're not going to be able to understand that very well, and they might feel like it's because they did something wrong, or they might feel like, oh, my mom or my dad doesn't love me. Because, to be honest, and this is from my own perspective, children don't have the ability to understand things like adults, and sometimes even adults don't really understand. So this is why I wanted to do this episode, because like I said, I will try to explain it in a way where the child can understand. And if you're going through something like this, because I know, like I said, I know a lot of families that are going through something similar. And it could be with a teenager, which because of the hormones, it can turn into a very bad situation. It can turn, if it's a child, a little child, it could be bad, because then when they become the teenagers, due to the hormones, then they start acting up. So there's so many things that could happen, that it's better to have an open conversation with your child, with your kids, about what's going on with you, or with the parent that is a spoonie, because it will help them, or it will at least help them understand a little bit of what's going on. One thing that I would do as well, and this is one of the things I tell my wife, is that I will try to involve them in the care of my wife. I won't force them, though. I won't tell them, like, you need to do this, because that's how I was raised and I didn't like it, so I'm not gonna do it. So what I would do is like, hey, do you want to see how I help your mom? And if they say yes, I'm like, okay, come look at it. See, like, this is why mom is sometimes sleeping all day, or this is why mom can't take you places, because this is what hurts, this is what her condition is. And they might not understand, like I said, but the way that I see it, at least, is that as long as they feel like it's nothing against them, or nothing that they did, then I think they will be able to have not a normal childhood, but some level of normal childhood in this case, because it will give them the impression that from what I have read in psychology books about kids and things like that, it will give them the impression that they still can be themselves, that they still can talk to their parents, because the parents should be open about what's going on, in my opinion. And this is why I wanted to do this episode, because the parents should be open. It's like, I'm taking your mom, you should talk to your kids when you take the parent or the spouse to the doctor, and be like, hey, we went to the doctor and the doctor said your mom is gonna get better, so we need to cheer her on. You can also make them part of the cheering squad, like, hey, you need to get better, mom, for me, do it for me, like something like that. That can actually help you. To be honest, is like, do it for me, and that can actually push you to get better. But one of the things that I feel like, and I want to hear your comments about this, is that I feel like you have to keep your kids in the loop about the health issues that either you're going through or that your spoonie is going through. Because what if that kid decides to become a doctor because of what he's seen, like, if he or she decides to become a doctor because of what they're seeing, I think that's good, because it might be your kid or your children, the ones that actually find the cure for whatever you're going through, because they're like, oh, my mom or my dad suffer from this. I don't want, and I saw what it's like. I don't want anybody else to go through that. So what if that happens? So there's so many things that could happen, but the most important things, from this episode, is that keep your kids on the loop, and make sure that you're open with your kids in regards to the health issues. Like, especially when they're little, and especially when they're teens. My childhood and my teenage years were rough, so I don't want anybody to go through that like I did, because then they end up with a podcast talking about their parents, and then the parents don't like it. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about on today's episode. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your feedback. I really, really, really appreciate it. And don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and don't forget to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you want to share your story, don't forget to send it to me at the Spoonie and Caregiver life@gmail.com. You can do it anonymously, or you can post it on the Facebook group, the Spoonie and Caregiver Life community. And also, if you know somebody that can actually benefit from this episode, don't forget to share it. And I'll leave you like always. Always take care of yourself and have a great day.